Dr. Mark Changizi here with your Science Moment. Today I'm going to talk about how censorship prevents you from knowing who's crazy, right? And who's really bright, right? So, as you know, one of the things that we've been going through on, many dozens and dozens of Science Moments on free expression is that free expression is not just about the freedom to say sentences. It's much more than that, and it's certainly much more than the government, the government being prevented from preventing you from saying sentences. It's much more than that. It's rich. It's like the free market of ideas, and it's decentralized. People interacting, and it involves betting of reputation currency. It's an incredibly complex, dynamic thing, and it has only a little bit to do, and it's an important part of the freedom to say certain kinds of things. Now, one of the things that's really important for reputation networks and free expression to function properly is that everybody acquires reputation over time when it's functioning appropriately. And their reputation concerns all the kinds of beliefs that they have. So you might have someone, and they're really bright. They have all these really cool things to say about foreign policy and about, let's say, how to invest your money. You're like, wow, that's a really... But then it turns out that you find out that they believe the moon landing was staged. And you're like, well, that's strange, and that kind of colors everything that you think about. And so if there's some new view that comes up in the context of the full complexion of their beliefs, then there's some new topic comes up, and I don't know what it is. Let's say whether the topic of the day is on Russia and Ukraine or something like this. Now you are going to modulate your belief, how quickly you are to believe their view or listen to their view on the basis of the full reputation that they've acquired, which includes the fact that they believe that the moon landing was staged. Now, what if Twitter and society had some kind of rule that you're not allowed to talk about moon landings being staged because it's clearly false, and so you shouldn't be allowed to say false things, right? Well, now I'm not going to realize that Doug has this strange feature about him that he may be a little bit unreliable from my point of view, right? I want him to be able to say these things. I want everybody able to say freely the things that they believe so that I and all of us can gauge the extent to which they have high reputations such that I'm willing to take their word on things, or at least believe them as potential oracles of information that I'm willing to listen to. When there's centralized control, when there's fact checkers, which are telling people, you quickly learn, don't say certain kinds of things, because otherwise you'll lose your voice altogether. So suddenly everybody shuts up. And the team reality community, I find this all the time. There's lots of folks that are, there's tons of diverse folks who believe in all kinds of things. We share the belief that the COVID was radically exaggerated, and there's been all these civil rights violations that shouldn't have been done. But they know not to talk about tons of certain kinds of things. And so when you go to a Getter, suddenly I hear all these folks sometimes now they're speaking freely. I'm like, man, this guy has actually a lot of strange beliefs over there. But it doesn't come across on Twitter because, well, you're not allowed to say those certain things. And that's bad for Twitter, right? That's bad for everybody because you want to know what these folks in totality believe and are saying so that you can better judge and gauge their reputation. All of the things that people do to stop misinformation, stop disinformation, are all, not only is it violating, what I would claim is their rights to do that, because they're a public accommodation, they're the public square, they should not be. Twitter and other social media shouldn't be, but they in fact are counterproductive. Even if there's good intent behind the fact checkers, they are counterproductive when they're censoring what they believe is misinformation or disinformation. Every facet of it is counterproductive. Free expression works when the individuals are allowed to say all the kinds of things that they believe. That's what allows the marketplace to slowly figure out what's right, and that's what allows the marketplace to allow certain reputations to rise. They become rich. They become information sources that people are willing to believe. They're socially rich, and others to become socially poor because they keep saying crazy things. You mess with that system, and you mess with the way society slowly makes its way toward the truth. And the way we make our way toward the truth has nothing to do with centralized fact checkers. And that was your Science Moment.